This week's elections in Afghanistan represents a unique opportunity as the country itself determines its new president as well as provincial leadership. The international community has a window to rethink its efforts there, and design could be a new contract with the Afghan people based on the national priorities of this new government. Along with the efforts that we've undergone over the past 7 years, there could be a reassessment of what has gone right, what has gone wrong, and taking the lessons from Afghanistan to feed into what would be a more well-informed strategy that would be consistent with Afghan needs and address the concerns of Afghan citizens in such a way as to reinforce their support for the international effort there and empower the Afghan government. Another challenge that could be addressed in this process would be the lack of coordination among international donors, which is currently taking place. In many ways, often donors can sometimes initiate programs that aren't necessarily consistent with the Afghan government or the Afghan communities at the local levels' interests or needs, and this can have an effect on the sustainability of such programs. Although there is a lot of good work being done in Afghanistan that is done in ways that is driven by and supported by Afghans, there are many programs that often may not be aligned with those and can undermine, in fact, sometimes hinder the capacity and legitimacy of Afghans themselves and the local as well as national Afghan government. So as a part of this process, there would be a creation of what could be a more coherent strategic framework that donors themselves could align to, which would be driven by the priorities of the new government. Another possibility for change and moving the country in a positive direction would be helping to establish and set expectations at home around these new national Afghan priorities. It's obvious that these are European and American taxpayer dollars at work, and it's critical that the publics and the donors are made aware of how these funds are being allocated, what are their priorities, and whether they're being effective or not in being measured in achieving those objectives. As it stands now, what would be a benefit in terms of alignment with a coherent Afghan strategy would be the ability to measure against what we're doing, rather than in the case now where we don't have a comprehensive strategy for the civilian leadership or civilian activities being administered now in the country. And if this were the case, there would be an opportunity to provide a strategic narrative to the American people that explains in clear terms what we're doing in the country, what are our priorities, and how have we been making progress on them moving forward. Whether the elections this week determine the future leadership of Afghanistan, or there is a runoff that goes forward into October, what's important is not so much who becomes the new leader of Afghanistan as much as the process itself and whether it leads to greater legitimacy of the Afghan government in the eyes of the Afghan people, and the international efforts are aligned and become more coherent and consistent with that new government moving forward to ensure that development assistance and resources are allocated in a way that are consistent with Afghan needs and desires and are measured around a set of objectives that we've agreed with in partnership with and under a new compact with the Afghan government.